Hey everyone, I'm Kendrick Diaz, and you're listening to Verse by Verse. There are a lot of generally good people out there, wouldn't you agree with that? You know them, you've gone to school with them, you've worked with them, read stories about them. They're the people who just try to do the right thing as best they know. Now, they may not be Christian, but guess what? They obey the law like you do, they work hard like you do, they support their families, they're present in their communities, they give money to people when they need it. You know, generally good people, and they're everywhere. But I think sometimes we can make the mistake of comparing the larger number of relatively good people to the smaller number of outright evil people, and think God really only has a few bad apples to take care of. That most people are all right, and just need a little nudge in the right direction before they'll be in good shape. But the Bible tells us that the problem is much bigger than that. So here's our scripture for today. Colossians 1:21-22. Here, Paul is talking to converted Christians, and he reminds us of where we used to be and how far we've come. But in doing that, he's also telling us where the rest of humanity currently is, and will continue to be unless there's change. He says, "And you, who once were alienated and enemies in your mind by wicked works." Let's stop there. That's what the New King James Version says, but here's what the Revised English Bible says. You yourselves were alienated from God, his enemies in heart and mind. Wow. Note that. The problem with human beings, even the generally good ones, isn't just that they're a little apathetic toward God and need a small perspective shift. It's much more serious. This is saying that before any intervention, we are God's enemies. That means our nature, who we are at our core, is hostile toward the being that gives us life and breath. That hostility doesn't always manifest the same way or to the same degree, but somewhere buried in our thinking is some resentment. Resentment against the idea of a God who can command our entire lives. Resentment against the idea that there's only one right way to live and no alternatives. Resentment against the reality that we owe God total submission. Think about Paul's audience here. The Colossian church was made up primarily of Gentiles, but there were also Jews. The Jews were taught about the real God as children. The only true moral code in the universe was hand-delivered to their ancestors. So no, most of them weren't overt idolaters or adulterers or things like that. A lot of them knew better than that. And yet Paul didn't qualify his statement. He said, you were alienated from God and enemies in your mind. Being generally good isn't good enough. That doesn't mean we shouldn't cheer for people when they do something good, but we have to keep in mind the big issue facing each and every human being. There's an underlying spiritual problem that puts us at odds with our Creator. And fixing that isn't as simple as just incorporating a few good habits into someone's life, like going to church every week or praying or something. There's a complete change in thinking that has to happen. Generally good people can't make that change on their own. Blatantly evil people can't make that change on their own. For those of us who have been converted, it's not a change we made by ourselves. That spiritual change is something God does. How does he do that? Let's read the rest of the passage. Yet now. That was before, this is now. Yet now he has reconciled in the body of his flesh through death, to present you holy and blameless and above reproach in his sight. The only way to be aligned with God in heart and mind is through Jesus' blood. It's his sacrifice that alone has the power to deal with the hostility. There's a lot of work to be done in transforming humanity. Fortunately, we've been reconciled to God and can enjoy the intimate relationship that comes through his Son. And yet we won't be the only ones. God will reconcile others as well, including both the generally good and the outright evil. Everyone will be given the opportunity to change from being an enemy to becoming his child. That's good news.
Verse by Verse is a Life, Hope, and Truth podcast. Check out the show notes to find more free content, like videos, articles, and booklets in our Learning Center.